So this is Orange, and Orange is an ex-racehorse that I got straight off the track in January this year. And the reason that Orange and I are going to begin to do some videos to share what's happening is because I've had him for, like 7 months now, and he's been diagnosed with kissing spine, and I've booked him in for the op in September, and the reason that we are going to video our journey is because ever since I've had to look at kissing spine, I've been obsessed with other people's videos. He's a goof, by the way. I've been obsessed with other people's videos and their journeys, and I can't get enough of watching to see what stage they're at, where they're at, if anything's similar to my situation, if the reason that they had the surgery was the same as our situation, because you just second guess yourself all the time as to whether you're making the right choice. So anyway, Orange, there's a video that will follow this, or lots of clips of video that will follow this, of our journey so far. And he was doing so well. He'd done really well in some real basic dressage, and I keep questioning, is this the right thing, because he was doing so well. But I will talk over the clips and say why I came to the conclusion that I came to, that I want him to have the surgery. And like I say, we are going to continue to film our journey. His surgery is in a month's time, so I'm starting this quite early, but that's because I found that that's what I was missing a little bit when I was trying to look at things, is how did you get to the point that you had surgery, because we've already tried medicating his spine, which my vet didn't actually think was worth it anyway. So we've got a month before then, and we are going to start videoing now. So hello from me and Orange. So this is a little face that I saw on the trainer's website after I lost my beautiful boy on Christmas Day. I was offered Orange, and that's the photo that I saw that I thought,
so nifty 50 Ramadan, Norm of the North
those eyes.
moves up now to form a line of 3 as they swing into the back. Just in behind him now in 4th is Winter Fog, and the big break to Downpour and Ask Politely. 3 to jump as they come towards this next one, and nifty 50 joined on the level as they approach it by Ramadan. So Ramadan in the noseband, nifty 50, Norm of the North, and a few lengths to Winter Fog, who in turn is followed by Downpour, and Ask Politely, who was a long way back, is now beginning to creep into it. His last of 6, but I wouldn't rule him out by any means. No, so as they come now down to the second last, Norm of the North has moved up with Ramadan, and in turn on the inside is nifty 50, and 5 lengths to the closing, Ask Politely. Downpour and Winter Fog look beaten, but as they come to the second last, and it is the big chestnut Chelmsford horse Ramadan just in front from Norm of the North. The nifty 50 and Ask Politely now is going into top gear and trying to bridge the gap on the leaders. So Ramadan, Norm of the North, here comes Ask Politely flying through now into 3rd position, and back in 4th then is nifty 50, but Ramadan leads on the turn for home, with Ask Politely continuing to close with every stride. They head to the final fence. Ramadan joined under until last now by Ask Politely. Ramadan responds to the challenge of Ask Politely. They go on from nifty 50 and Norm of the North. Here's the final fence. Ask Politely the outside of Ramadan. They go to the line with little between them. Ramadan and Ask Politely. Ramadan for the Declan Queenie team with Mikey Sweeney in the plate is going to get there and make a winning debut. Ramadan fends off Ask Politely, and then.
So that was the video that the trainer showed me of his race in Ireland, and this was the day that I went to try him, and I honestly thought he gave me the best feeling of any ex-racehorse I'd ever had before. I've had a few, but he really surprised me. Normally they're got no mouth and don't know sort of how to yield or bend, and he really just gave me the best feeling of any ex-racehorse I'd ever sat on. See if I could do the girth up tight enough to get on.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know if it would. And this was the first time I sat on him when I brought him home. I think it was the day after I brought him home. I just wanted to get on and, you know, it not become a big thing. I knew I wanted to do lots of groundwork with him. I didn't want it to become a big thing getting on, so I did it very quickly.
Is he going galloping up there one day? Oh dear. Oh dear, Baba. You'll be okay. You'll be okay.
This is my first lesson with him. We had a clinic at the yard and I decided to join in for a penny, in for a pound. I thought I might as well just get on with it, and just remember being so pleased with, you know, how genuine he was.
They say, oh my God, I see the way you shine. Take your hand, my dear, and place them both in mine. Ooh, I see you every time. And oh my...
Yeah, and I'm cantering up on Marlborough Downs.
This was my second lesson, so this would have been about 3 weeks to a month after the first one. The trainer was back. Still everything I was doing in the worst of weather. Probably sort of February now. And I've been doing lots and lots of dark nights of doing groundwork and lots of core conditioning. And this was my first go at doing a little dressage test on him. I thought I may as well just do one just to sort of get an idea of our progress, just a little intro, because you can see he when I first got him, he was very head tossy, especially if you tried to do transitions. It was alright if you kept going forward, but if you did transitions he would get very, very head tossy. That was a big thing when I first got him. It's interesting looking back really, because he got out of that. I only had a little tiny bit of that again in the last lesson I had of him, with him. So you know, I wonder if when his back was weaker, and then eventually when his back was maybe sore again, if that's one of the ways it comes out in him. I remember at this stage, other than that head tossing that he would do if I tried to do too much transition work, I remember just being really, really pleased with, you know, how well he was retraining really. Just seemed to, you know, he wasn't rushed because he was doing an awful lot of core conditioning and groundwork in between all of this stuff. But just seemed to come on really quick. And the hacking, I mean, I've just had the most wonderful hacks on him. He's always been amazing. Doesn't like to go on his own, but in groups, you know, an absolute star.
Boy, trot to your plank. That's okay, don't mind that. Through your skinny gap.
In trot.
Yeah, or canter, whatever. Over your tray.
And this was the first time we left the yard.
Sitting if you need to.
Go down to a local trainer just down the road. I remember that being a
Well
massive
done.
big thing the first time we left the yard. And then this was a fun ride that was, I believe, just the week after I first left to go training, and then very soon afterwards we went cross country schooling with everybody from our yard. And again, impeccably behaved and just tried everything. Such a good boy.
They say, oh my God, I see the way you shine. Take your hand, my dear, while I was passing by. And now I beg to see you dance just one more time. You make me wanna cry. And now I beg to see you dance for me. And when you're done, I'm beg you to be that again. They say, dance for me, dance for me, dance for me. Oh, 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 oh. I never seen anybody do the things you do before. They say, move for me, move for me, move for me. And when you're done.
This would be, I don't know here, cross country was April, so this is either also April or maybe May. Again, yeah, so chuffed with him. I think May was the month that I put in an online test on him one, or maybe he was second in May and on the one in June. You know, he just was doing amazingly. And other than, you know, he's a very spooky horse, especially in our own school. You know, he worries if somebody opens a door, comes up the lane, you know, he'll go from 0 to 60 across the school in no time. This was out at my trainers again. My friend came and took video and photos and just couldn't believe, you know, how grown up he was. And I think neither could my trainer. He'd done a lot of core conditioning by this time, so because of that was, you know, very kind of far along in being able to be picked up and worked. And at this point, my only problem was ever sort of getting on, and he would kick his leg up, he would go round and round and round and round. You know, there were times when he was much worse girthing, and you know, he'd kick up, cow kick when you're girthing, cow kick when I was getting on sometimes. But I treated him for ulcers when I first got him, and I always put everything down to ulcers. So every time he would react badly, I would always think, oh, I did this, I don't know, I gave him some haylage, or you know, I would be able to put it down to something that had gone wrong, and to why his ulcers were playing up again. And that's what I did for a long time, until one day when I noticed his back in spasm. You know, I always treated him with all regard, or I found a supplement that really worked for him. This was his first, so he had the in-hand show the week before that there was that photo of, and this was his first ever dressage test, and he was unbelievable. After being following another horse to the arena, you know, I just again couldn't believe how grown up he was. You know, yes, it's all babyish, but he was more grown up about trotting towards a car and you know, going around the inside of an arena than any horse I've ever had before on the first attempt. wobbly and babyish, but nothing more than that. You know, a really good boy.
Oh, that looks nice.
Standoff.
And again, like I say, we have the most amazing hacking around us.
I'm not moving.
It's incredible. And you know, I have, in the time I've had him, just had the most amazing hacks on him. We've been out for hours, and as long as he's got company, he is as good as gold. This was our second trip to cross-country schooling, which I think was probably due. The first one was April, so I think this was probably the beginning of June. And again, just, you know, just lovely.
Be very good about where I went.
And back to the hacking again, which actually, that photo there is, I was on the way to a pub ride, and it was this week that I'd done a lot of long rides all in a row, and I was never terribly happy with the saddle, even though it had been fitted by a saddler and I'd had her out 3 times, and it seemed to be after that succession of long rides. You see him kicking his leg up there when I get on, and this is back at the trainer again, but it seemed to be after all those long rides that I noticed his back sore. It was just going into spasm. You know, if I ran my hand along it or touched a certain point, it would just really go into spasm. So I had chiropractor, had physio, and at my lesson here, I seem to remember, you know, I'd had chiropractor, had physio, and it had settled down again. So I brought him then to a lesson. I think this was probably my last lesson I had on him.
So it's more up, out, hind leg takes the responsibility. It's your balance, it's not my balance. So actually probably, and what I liked about then, he turned his shoulders, he actually moved that way. Maybe you turn a little bit in the direction of, and just ask the counter question and see what happens. Right, so actually what I think watching him, that almost needs the freewheel a tiny bit, add it into the equation when you can. A moment where you almost overemphasize a little bit, well done. My radar a little bit longer and let you put your head a little bit lower for a second. You know? That might help actually. Yeah. Or suddenly I can't cope, I won't cope.
So again, you know, still really sort of coming on. He started the head shaking again this time, or head tossing. And it's funny because I've always done a lot of core conditioning and stretching with him, but when I go to my lessons, it's funny, the trainers are always like, oh, get him up, he doesn't, you know, he doesn't need to be put down there. And I always sort of think, you know, he does. The only reason that he's so good at everything else and that you think he works in such a lovely natural position is because he does that, the core conditioning and the stretching. But on this occasion, actually, my trainer recognised and said, oh, maybe he needs to, you know, be put down, which was interesting. You know, he never sort of, I guess he doesn't see all that work I put in at home doing that, and had never recognised that need before. But this time, you know, he was just a bit inconsistent in his head, like I say, a bit of head tossing. And the only thing that he has ever struggled with, this horse, is getting right canter. And, you know, I've never really worried too much about that because, you know, again, never had an ex-race horse that hasn't struggled on one lead when you first get them. And you know, here we're only still sort of 6 months in, and you know, it's not like he can't do it, he just doesn't consistently get it. He will probably choose not to, and just from the point of view that we need to sort of get more control over his shoulders. It always feels, nothing more. He doesn't get all caught up, he doesn't canter disunited.
So this would have been my actual last lesson. So this was at home with my eventing trainer, and I remember him asking, because he started my last Theexracehorse eventing, and he was asking if, you know, I still wanted him to ride this one and take him cross country and everything. And I can remember just feeling very kind of like, oh, I just don't think he's strong enough, you know, I think he'd be too heavy for him. And I was even sort of feeling like I was too heavy for him, and you know, going on a diet, and despite all of the core conditioning work that he's done, I just always felt like his back wasn't strong enough. Yeah, I don't know, it's funny. I was like, oh no, I don't want him to get on him, you know, he's too big. And, you know, I mean, he's about 16'1", he should be able to take certainly me and him, but there's just something that made me always feel like he just wasn't strong enough.
That's better. Good.
Like here, he wants to just, good boy.
And what? Just got him to put up like a shirt.
Yeah.
There, he saw it and went, yeah, I know it.
Yeah.
Well done. Don't throw the cord.
And this was where I just one day said to the vet, come and check his back. The muscle spasms, you know, he'd been having, you know, every week almost. He either had the chiropractor, the physio, he was having massages, he had a massage pad, he had a magnet rug, you know, so he had everybody keeping him going. And yeah, just got to the stage where I was like, come and check his back. The reason I've put this in here is because, you know, there's an awful lot of riding. It looks like we did an awful lot in a little time, and I haven't included, you know, any clips of the amount of groundwork that I did. I mean, he was doing core conditioning and TRT method groundwork, you know, a lot. So it was just, I put this in just, this was, I think during the time there was a month when I didn't ride him, and then I got back on and hacked him, but I've got a feeling this is possibly during that month, so it's quite recent. But you can see, I'm not quite sure what happened there. I did worry that his back end went away from him, but yeah, you know, you can see that he's done a lot of this, and, you know, knows how to stretch down and work over his back. So I just wanted to put this in just so it didn't look like, you know, I just kind of rushed him and not done the basics. You know, I got rid of a lot of videos of this because there are hours and hours and hours of it.
Okay, and this was the video that made me decide to have the surgery. I'd been back on him. I'd got back on him after a month. We went hacking. His ears were forward. He was loving it. And then I saw that.
I should also just add that poor Orange, we were supposed to have a month of just kind of having to play around, see whether we could have some hacks or whether we just needed to do groundwork. And then lots of groundwork, because I wanted his back to be in the best condition possible before he had his op, because that would help him to recover quicker. But poor old Orange got a kick, which I've put a photo in at the end of all the other clips and photos, and so he's been off now for a week, and he's having this antibiotic paste, which he's so good at taking paste, but he's a little bit sick of it now. So in some ways it's been good practice for when he has his op and then has to be in a small pen and having antibiotics every day, but he's a bit sick of it now, so luckily he'll have a month's break before having to have it again. But yeah, just to add that, I'm just about to administer the Dreadly paste. Night night. Night night. Love you, okay? Good boy. Love you. See you tomorrow.